Moscow doesn't believe in tears, and in the Volkov Syndicate, silence is the only thing that keeps you alive. My name is Victor. They called me the Winter Wolf, a ghost in a midnight black suit who was forged in the permafrost of a Siberian gulag. I was the weapon the Tsar used to delete his mistakes. I thought my heart was as cold as the nitrogen lines I used to sabotage my enemies. I was wrong. Tonight, I was sent to eliminate a glitch in the bloodline. I expected a rival. I found a woman named Elena and two tiny, shivering bundles, Siwan and Cyan. They aren't just babies, they are the forbidden heirs to a deadly Russian throne. My orders were to leave no witnesses, but as the red laser dot settled on their crib, something in my system broke. For the first time in 10 years, the predator became the protector. I've just declared war on the most powerful mafia on the planet for a family I didn't even know I had. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because the wolf is no longer hunting for the Tsar, he's hunting for revenge. Let's get into the penthouse. The Tsar's traitor, the penthouse kill zone. The penthouse smelled of gardenias and expensive blood. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, Moscow was a sprawling circuit board of neon lights and freezing rain, but inside, the only sound was the high-pitched, rhythmic breathing of two infants. Victor stood over the silk-lined crib, his silver Tokarev pistol heavy in his hand. His earpiece crackled with the cold, aristocratic voice of the Tsar. Report, Wolf. Is the glitch deleted? Victor looked at his reflection in the glass. He saw a man who didn't exist. No fingerprints, no records, just a ghost in a charcoal suit. Then, he looked down. The smaller twin, Siwan, reached up and grabbed Victor's gloved finger. The system in Victor's mind, the cold, tactical logic drilled into him since the gulag, stuttered. Wolf? Respond, the Tsar demanded. Victor reached into his inner pocket and pulled out a signal ghost, a high-tech Russian device that looks like a matte black coin. With a thumb press, he activated it. Status, traitor, Victor whispered. He slammed the device onto the floor. A pulse of violet electromagnetic energy surged through the room. The cameras went dark. The Tsar's voice vanished into static. The digital locks on the penthouse door hissed as Victor overrode the building's mainframe, slaving it to his own encrypted burner. Elena, Victor said, his voice like grinding stones. Grab the dual carrier. We have exactly 90 seconds before the shadow guard realizes the wolf has gone rogue. Elena didn't scream. She had the eyes of a survivor. She latched the babies into the tactical carrier and strapped it to Victor's chest. She knew that in this world, a Russian mafia boss didn't just walk out the front door. The elevators are death traps, Victor muttered, checking his HUD-style tactical glasses. We're going through the void. He kicked open the service panel for the laundry chute. It wasn't just a slide, it was a vertical drop into the bowels of the skyscraper. He grabbed a high-tension cable, wrapped it around his arm, and pulled Elena close. Hold the babies' heads, he commanded. As they leaped into the darkness, the penthouse doors behind them exploded in a shower of sparks. Three figures in obsidian tactical gear, the Tsar's elite operachniki, rushed in, their glowing red visors scanning the empty room. They weren't just soldiers, they were system hunters. Target has erased his signature, the lead hunter rasped. Deploy the hounds. No one betrays the Tsar and keeps their heart beating. Victor and Elena hit the basement level with a bone-jarring thud. The air was thick with the smell of wet concrete and old grease. Victor didn't stop. He moved with the flow state of a high-ranked Donghua protagonist, sliding under the closing security shutters just as the building went into lockdown. He reached into a hidden compartment in a rusted utility van. Inside lay a black leather case containing his ghost kit, new passports, untraceable currency, and a specialized mana-masking cloak. From this moment on, Victor said, staring into the rearview mirror as the van roared to life, Viktor Volkov is dead. And the man who replaced him is the Tsar's worst nightmare. If you're hyped to see how Victor handles the first wave of assassins in the tea house, drop a wolf in the comments right now. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and ring the bell so you never miss a chapter of this legendary journey. We're just getting started. The tea house sanctuary. The van screeched to a halt in the heart of the Arbat district, tucked away in an alley where the neon signs flickered like dying stars. Ahead sat the Jade Samovar, a crumbling tea house that looked like a relic of the old world. To a tourist, it was a ruin. To Victor, it was a level 4 dead zone. Inside. Now, Victor commanded, his voice tight. Elena clutched the twins, her knuckles white as she stepped over the threshold. The air inside was thick with the scent of dried jasmine and ancient dust. Victor didn't head for the seating area. He moved with the practiced precision of a Donghua cultivation master, sliding a hidden floor tile to reveal a staircase leading into the subterranean levels. This was his shadow realm, a basement sanctuary rigged with industrial-grade traps and a private system server. "Victor, the babies, they're glowing," Elena whispered, her voice trembling. Victor looked back. A faint, violet pulse was radiating from the infant's skin, rhythmic as a heartbeat. It wasn't a fever, it was an awakening. The Tsar wasn't just hunting them because they were heirs, he was hunting them because they were the first natural vessels born in a century. "The tracking rune in my side is reacting to them," Victor gritted his teeth, feeling a searing heat in his ribs. "They're a beacon. The Shadow Guard will be here in 5 minutes." He dived into action. He didn't reach for a rifle, he reached for the environment. He ripped the valves off the industrial steam boilers, letting a thick, white fog flood the basement. Then, he dumped sacks of fine white flour into the ventilation intake. "Environmental manipulation, whiteout mode," Victor muttered, his tactical glasses adjusting to the haze. Above them, the tea house doors shattered. 5 shadow scouts descended, their forms flickering like corrupted data. They moved with the jagged, supernatural speed of high-rank hunters, their obsidian blades humming. But as they hit the basement floor, their system stealth failed. The flour coated their invisible suits, turning the ghosts into solid white targets. "You're in my world now," Victor's voice echoed through the mist. He moved like a wraith. Borrowing a page from the god of high school, he used the environment as a weapon. He didn't just punch, he used a meat hook to swing across the rafters, delivering a devastating kick that sent a scout flying into the high-voltage breaker box. Crack boom. The basement lit up in a surge of blue electricity. Victor landed silently, his silver pistol glowing with a cold mana light. One by one, the scouts fell, unable to track a man who knew every creak in the floorboards. But the lead scout, a monster known as the Siberian, stood his ground. He didn't look at Victor. He looked at the twins. "The Tsar sends his regards, traitor. If we can't have the heirs, no one will." He raised a dark mana grenade. Victor's heart hammered. If that went off, the basement would become a tomb. "Elena. The grease chute. Go." Victor lunged. Mid-air, he activated his wolf's reflex, a state of hyperspeed where the falling flowers seemed to freeze in time. He tackled the Siberian, driving his Tonto blade into the gap in the assassin's armor just as the room erupted in a blinding white light. That was a close one. Is Victor's wolf reflex enough to save the twins from the blast? Drop a fire in the comments if you want to see the aftermath. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow our socials for daily clips of the best scenes. You don't want to miss. Cold tattoos. The dust from the flower explosion settled like graveyard snow. Victor emerged from the haze, his suit tattered, his breath coming in ragged, icy plumes. He wasn't dead, but the Siberian's mana grenade had left the basement scorched. In his hand, he held the shattered visor of the lead scout. "Victor!" Elena's voice cracked through the silence from the mouth of the grease chute. She scrambled out, clutching the twins. They weren't crying, their eyes were wide, glowing with a dim, violet embers that seemed to feed off the residual energy in the room. "Stay back," Victor rasped, collapsing against a rusted industrial pillar. He pulled back his sleeve, revealing a series of intricate, glowing tattoos that snaked from his wrist to his collarbone. They weren't ink, they were microshunt mana channels, a brutal Russian experiment to turn the human nervous system into a weapon. "You're bleeding," Elena whispered, reaching for a first aid kit. She stopped when she saw his back, It wasn't just scars, it was a map of names written in Cyrillic, etched directly into the skin with a laser. "They are the lost wolves," Victor said, his voice dropping into a hollow, haunting register. "Every man who didn't survive the Tsar system training. I carry their names so the Kremlin can't forget the price of their power. This isn't art, Elena. It's a ledger of debts." He leaned his head back, his eyes closing. In this moment of quiet, he looked less like a Mafia boss and more like a fallen Donghua immortal, powerful, yet burdened by 1,000 years of regret. "Why did you save us?" Elena asked, her voice soft against the hum of the cooling boilers. "You could have taken the Tsar's bounty and been the king of Moscow by morning." Victor opened his eyes. They weren't cold anymore, they were weary. "Because for 10 years, I've been a ghost. I've killed men, erased families, and lived in the nitrogen, the space where nothing grows. But when that child grabbed my finger, I felt a heartbeat. My own. I realized I didn't want to be a ghost anymore. I wanted to be a man." The moment of peace was shattered by a low, rhythmic vibration in the floorboards. Victor's HUD glasses flickered red. "Warning, high-rank resonance detected." "The Tsar didn't just send scouts," Victor hissed, forcing himself to stand. The tattoos on his neck began to throb with a sickly violet light, syncing with the twins' heartbeat. "He sent the nitrogen wraiths. They aren't humans, they're biomechanical husks programmed to hunt mana signatures." He grabbed a heavy crate and slid it over the entrance. "We can't stay here. The sanctuary is compromised. We need to hit the meat lockers in the industrial district. If we can't hide our heat signatures, we'll freeze them out." He looked at Elena, a rare, sharp glint of determination in his eyes. "The wolf is tired of running. It's time to start setting traps. Things are getting deep. Victor's past is finally catching up to him, and the nitrogen wraiths are closing in." Drop a ghost in the comments if you think Victor can protect the heirs. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and ring the bell to stay updated on the wolf's journey. The real war starts in Chapter 4. The Nitrogen Trap. The industrial meatpacking district was a labyrinth of rusted iron and frozen breath. Victor led Elena through the double-reinforced titanium doors of Cold Storage Unit 7. Inside, the temperature sat at a lethal -40 degrees, a temperature that turns blood into glass and batteries into bricks. "The babies, they'll freeze." Elena gasped, her breath a thick plume of white mist. "Not with this," Victor replied. He pulled a heavy, shimmering thermal shroud from his kit, a piece of system gear stolen from the Kremlin's research wing. He wrapped the twins, and the violet glow beneath the fabric pulsed warmly. "The shroud feeds on my mana to keep them at 98 degrees. But it means I'm running on empty. I can't use my speed." He moved to the center of the locker, where massive industrial pipes labeled liquid nitrogen snaked across the ceiling like frozen pythons. Victor didn't pull a gun, he pulled a wrench. "The wraiths don't see light, they see heat and mana vibrations," Victor explained, his movements as precise as a Donghua sword saint preparing a formation. "In here, the cold confuses their sensors. We are going to turn this freezer into a kill box." Suddenly, the heavy outer doors groaned. The steel began to frost over from the outside as the nitrogen wraiths arrived. They didn't walk, they phased through the metal, their bodies composed of liquid metal and cooling gas. They looked like something straight out of Ghost in the Shell, faceless, ruthless, and silent. Victor stood in the center of the room, his tattoos glowing a faint, desperate blue. "Target acquired," the wraiths spoke in a synchronized, digital drone. As they lunged with their cryoblades, Victor didn't dodge. He struck the main valve above him. PSSSSHT. A torrent of liquid nitrogen erupted, creating a localized blizzard. The wraiths staggered. Their biomechanical joints, designed for high-speed slaughter, began to seize in the extreme cold. Victor moved through the fog like a ghost. He used the low-temperature flow state, a technique he learned in the Siberian wastes. He grabbed a frozen side of beef, swinging it with the force of a level 99 berserker, shattering the first wraith into 1,000 icy shards. Elena. Hit the pressure release. Victor roared. Elena slammed her fist onto the emergency red button. The entire room pressurized, the nitrogen gas expanding with explosive force. The remaining wraith sensors overloaded, their internal cooling systems failing as they were forced to fight the very element they were named after. Victor appeared behind the final wraith. He didn't use a blade, he jammed his bare, glowing hand into the machine's chest. "You're a machine built by a coward," Victor hissed, his mana surging into the wraith's core. "And machines can be dismantled." With a roar of effort, Victor tore the core out. The wraith collapsed into a puddle of inert silver liquid. Victor slumped to his knees, his skin covered in a fine layer of frost. He had won, but his mana ledger was in the red. The system in his mind flashed a final warning: critical power depletion. Shutdown imminent. Victor just took down the Tsar's elite hunters using pure strategy. But he's running on empty. Can he make it to the next safe house? Drop a wolf in the comments if you're rooting for him. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and ring the bell to see what happens when the digital world catches up to the wolf. Chapter 5 is going to be insane. Digital bloodlines. The red warning light on Victor's HUD flickered one last time before dying, plunging the meat locker into a terrifying, frozen silence. Victor lay motionless, his skin the color of a winter moon. The thermal shroud around the twins was still warm, but the golden glow from Victor's mana tattoos had faded into a dull, ashen gray. "Victor! Stay with me!" Elena cried, dragging him toward the back office of the warehouse where a bank of ancient, flickering servers hummed. She knew she couldn't restart his heart with medicine, she had to restart his system. She reached into her apron and pulled out the black book, her father's old Rolodex that was actually a low-rank artifact containing a master decryption key. "If the world thinks they exist, the Tsar will never stop," Elena whispered, her fingers flying across a rusted keyboard. She wasn't just a waitress anymore, she was a high-rank information fixer entering the Matrix. Initiating system override, data purge mode. The screen transformed into a digital battlefield, a 3D construct of the Volkov Syndicate's global database. To anyone else, it was code. To Elena, it looked like a Donghua spirit map, where every glowing thread was a life, a bank account, or a death warrant. She saw them. Cywin and Cyan. Their digital birth signatures were coded in a Violet Royal-class encryption, a beacon for every bounty hunter in the hemisphere. "I have to delete the bloodline," she muttered. Suddenly, a massive digital avatar, a faceless entity wearing the Tsar's crest, loomed over her construct. It was a digital sentinel, a sentient piece of malware designed to execute anyone who touched the royal files. It lunged, its code blades slashing through Elena's firewalls. In the real world, the warehouse lights began to explode. "I won't let you have them," Elena roared. She didn't retreat. Borrowing the willpower of a cultivation protagonist, she channeled her own life force into the keyboard. She didn't just delete the names, she rewrote them. She forged a new digital history, weaving the twin signatures into the noise of 1,000,000 civilian records. Rewrite complete, bloodline erased. At that exact moment, the servers let out a final, high-pitched scream and died. The warehouse went dark. Elena slumped over the desk, her nose bleeding from the psychic strain. But as the digital noise vanished, a new sound filled the room. A deep, rhythmic thrumming. Victor's hand shot out, grabbing the edge of the server rack. His eyes snapped open, glowing not with violet mana, but with a new, golden resonance, a direct result of Elena's rewrite. By erasing the babies from the Tsar system, she had accidentally unlocked Victor's hidden class potential. "The beacon is gone," Victor rasped, his voice sounding like iron on stone. He stood up, his body radiating a heat so intense the frost on his suit evaporated into steam. "They can't see us in the digital world anymore." He looked at the door, his gaze piercing through the steel. "But the Tsar's brother, he doesn't need a computer to find us. He's already in the alley." Elena just pulled off the ultimate digital heist. But the physical war is far from over. Victor has unlocked a new power, but can he master it before the Tsar's brother arrives? Drop a gold in the comments if you want to see Victor's new skills in action. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and follow us on all platforms for the most intense Mafia boss journey on the web. Chapter 6 is the one you've been waiting for. The brothers' betrayal. The warehouse doors didn't explode, they simply dissolved. A man stepped through the shimmering mist of disintegrated steel, wearing a white suit that looked like a surgical scar against the grime of the industrial district. This was Dmitri's brother, Nikolai, the Snake. Behind him, four shadow guards stood like statues, their mana signatures suppressed to a lethal 0. Nikolai didn't look like a brawler, he looked like a conductor. He held a thin, carbon fiber baton that hummed with a high-frequency vibration. "Victor," Nikolai said, his voice smooth and cold, like silk over a blade. "I didn't believe the reports. I told the council our wolf was too smart to die for a waitress and 2 glitches. I thought you were playing a deeper game. But here you are, smelling like cheap grease and baby formula." Victor stepped in front of Elena and the twins. His new golden resonance flickered beneath his skin, the tattoos on his neck pulsing with a light that felt like molten suns. "The game is over, Nikolai," Victor rasped. "I've erased their signatures. The Tsar is blind. You have no reason to be here." Nikolai laughed, a jagged, echoing sound. "Blind? Perhaps. But I'm the one who taught you how to hide, Victor. Did you really think a digital rewrite would fool me? I don't need a satellite to find my own shadow." Suddenly, Nikolai's baton flashed. In a move straight out of Naruto's taijutsu, he closed the 20-foot gap in a heartbeat. Victor met him mid-air. The collision sent a shockwave through the warehouse, shattering the remaining server racks into shrapnel. Victor's new power was raw, unrefined. Every time he struck, a burst of golden mana scorched the floor. But Nikolai moved like water, a high-ranked Donghua assassin who used his enemy's momentum against them. "You're sloppy, Victor. You're fighting for something real, and it's making you slow," Nikolai hissed, his baton striking Victor's pressure points with surgical precision. Victor stumbled, his golden light flickering. He looked back at Elena. She was trying to reach the back exit, but 2 shadow guards blocked her path, their blades drawn. "Choose, wolf!" Nikolai roared, preparing a final, vibrating strike. "Save the woman, or save the throne. You can't be a hero and a mafia boss at the same time." Victor's HUD flashed a critical warning, internal overload. Golden core unstable. In that split second, Victor didn't look at Nikolai. He looked at the twin carriers. He remembered Renjiro's dark truth, that armor keeps the heart in. He realized Nikolai was wrong. He wasn't slow because he cared. He was powerful because he finally had something worth the blood. Victor let out a roar that sounded like a choir of wolves. He didn't dodge Nikolai's strike, he took it directly to the chest, grabbing Nikolai's collar with a grip of iron. Golden art, absolute 0 horizon. A dome of golden energy erupted from Victor, freezing everything in a 5-meter radius, not with cold, but with absolute stillness. Nikolai froze mid-sneer, his baton vibrating itself into dust. The shadow guards near Elena were thrown back by the sheer atmospheric pressure. Victor leaned into Nikolai's ear, his eyes glowing with a terrifying, divine light. "I'm not a hero, Nikolai. I'm the man who's going to make you regret breathing." Victor just unleashed a hidden class move. But the cost of the absolute 0 horizon is massive. Is Nikolai truly defeated, or was this just the beginning of his trap? Drop a snake in the comments if you want to see the fallout of this battle. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and ring the bell to stay notified. The Winter Wolf's past is coming in Chapter 7, and you are not ready for the truth. The Winter Wolf's past. The golden light from Victor's absolute 0 horizon faded, leaving the warehouse in a heavy, ringing silence. Nikolai lay unconscious in the center of a scorched circle, but the effort had broken something inside Victor. As his knees hit the concrete, the world didn't just go dark, it went white. Transition, memory core access. Location, Gulag 41, Siberia. 15 years ago. The air in the Siberian waste didn't just freeze your skin, it tried to steal your soul. A young Victor, barely 19, stood in a circle of starving men. He wasn't the winter wolf yet. He was just 7, a number assigned to a boy whose only crime was having the wrong bloodline. "Stand up, 7, a woman's voice commanded. It was sharp, like a shard of ice. Victor looked up. Standing before him was Katerina, the original ghost blade. She was the woman the Tsar used to forge his monsters. But as she looked at Victor, she didn't see a tool. She saw a boy who reminded her of the son she'd lost to the Syndicate's greed. In this world, Katerina whispered, her hand tracing the first tattoo being etched into Victor's neck, "They will tell you that to be strong, you must be a machine. They will tell you that the Shadow Garden is a place of death. They are lying." She leaned in, her eyes reflecting the flickering campfire. "The Shadow Garden is where we hide the things the world is too cruel to understand. It is a sanctuary. One day, 7, you will find something worth more than the Tsar's gold. On that day, you will stop being a wolf and start being a man." Flashback shift, the Great Purge. The memory warped into fire. Victor saw the night the Tsar ordered the lost wolves to be liquidated. He saw Katerina standing between a line of executioners and a group of civilian orphans. She didn't use her blade to kill, she used her own manabody to shield them. "Run, 7, she'd screamed, her silhouette dissolving into golden sparks as she overchanneled her core to create a barrier. That was the night Victor realized the dark truth. The Tsar didn't fear his enemies, he feared the people who could love something more than they feared him. Victor had etched her name, Katerina, into the center of his back, the anchor for every other name he would eventually carry. Reality restored, the warehouse. Victor's eyes snapped open. He was back in the grime of the industrial district. Elena was kneeling over him, her hands glowing with a faint, residual warmth from the twins. "I remember now," Victor rasped, his voice cracking. "Katerina didn't die for a throne. She died for the next generation. She died for them." He looked at Siwen and Cyan. The tattoos on his back, the ledger of the dead, suddenly shifted. The ink didn't just glow, it began to flow, reorganizing itself. The names of the lost wolves weren't a burden anymore. They were a legion. "Nikolai is gone," Elena whispered, pointing to the empty center of the scorched circle. "He escaped during the pulse. But he left something behind." On the floor sat a gold-crested invitation. The Red Gala. The Tsar's 50th anniversary celebration at the Kremlin. Victor picked it up, his grip crushing the expensive card. He wants a finale. He thinks the wolf is coming to bark at his feet. Victor stood up, his height seeming to double as the golden resonance stabilized into a permanent, calm aura. He's wrong. The wolf is bringing the entire garden to his front door. We finally know why Victor carries those names. The Shadow Garden isn't just a team, it's a legacy of sacrifice. Victor is headed to the Red Gala, and Moscow is about to burn. Drop a legacy in the comments if you're ready for the ultimate infiltration. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and follow our socials for the final countdown. Chapter 8 is the Red Gala Siege. The Red Gala Siege. The Kremlin's Grand Hall was a sea of liquid gold, dripping diamonds, and the most dangerous men in the Eastern Hemisphere. This was the Red Gala, the Tsar's 50th anniversary celebration. Beneath the classical orchestra music, the air hummed with a different frequency, the collective mana of 300 high-rank Mafia heads. The heavy oak doors swung open, and the room went deathly silent. Victor walked in, looking exactly like the Tsar of Shadows he was born to be. He wore a tuxedo of midnight blue silk, his hair swept back, his presence so cold it seemed to dim the chandeliers. On his arm was Elena. She had traded her apron for a gown of shimmering crimson that looked like it was woven from dragon scales. "They're looking for the wolf," Elena whispered behind a practiced, high society smile. "Let them look," Victor replied, his eyes scanning the room with Donghua-level clarity. I've already planted the shadow garden in the vents. At the far end of the hall, sitting on a throne of obsidian, was the Tsar. Beside him stood Nikolai, his face partially bandaged from their last encounter. The Tsar didn't rise. He simply gestured to the empty chair across from him. "Victor," the Tsar's voice boomed, cutting through the silence. "You've come home. And you brought the inventory." He looked at the two infants, concealed in high-tech, soundproof pods carried by two waiters who were actually Victor's shadow agents in disguise. "I didn't come for a reunion, Dmitri," Victor said, his voice vibrating with the hidden golden resonance. "I came to show you the dark truth. You think this empire is built on loyalty, but it's built on the names on my back." Suddenly, Victor tapped a command into his cufflink. The massive 8K holographic screen surrounding the hall, meant to show the Tsar's achievements, flickered and died. They were replaced by the black ledger Elena had hacked in Chapter 5. Every money laundering route, every political assassination, and the video evidence of the Tsar's purge of his own lost wolves flashed before the eyes of the world's elite. "What is this?" Nikolai screamed, reaching for his baton. "This is the hostile takeover," Victor roared. "Shadow Garden, bloom mode." The chandeliers didn't just flicker, they exploded into violet smoke. From the high balconies, 12 figures in obsidian tactical gear dropped into the crowd, Victor's Legion. They didn't target the guests, they targeted the system emitters that kept the Syndicate's mana shields active. The gala turned into a hunting ground. Victor lunged across the mahogany table, his golden light erupting in a column of fire that shattered the Tsar's obsidian throne. Nikolai tried to intervene, but Elena, using a concealed Donghua fan blade, deflected his strike with a grace that left the room stunned. "The babies are the heirs," Victor shouted over the chaos, his voice amplified by his core. "And the heirs have just fired their first employee." The Tsar finally stood, his eyes glowing with a terrifying, ancient red light. "You think a few files and some street rats can topple me, Seven? I created you. I can unmake you. The gala is in absolute shambles. Victor's secret army has arrived, and the Tsar is finally showing his true power. Can Victor survive a face-to-face duel with the man who made him a monster? Drop a boss in the comments if you're ready for the finale. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and follow our socials for the final chapter. It's all been leading to this. The Throne of Ash. The rooftop of the Kremlin was a platform of white marble suspended in a storm of fire and sleet. Below, the Grand Hall was a symphony of sirens and shadows, but up here, the air was eerily still. The Tsar stood at the edge of the helipad, his red mana bleeding into the rain, turning the droplets into steam before they could touch him. He looked less like a man and more like a Donghua demon god, an ancient power that had consumed everything it ever loved. "You speak of legacies, Seven," the Tsar hissed, his voice echoing with 1,000 distorted souls. "But a legacy is just a lie we tell the dead. There is only power. And I am its source." Victor stepped forward, his boots clicking on the marble. He wasn't alone. Elena stood 10 paces behind him, the twin carriers locked into a protective mana shield he'd anchored to the roof's lightning rod. Victor's golden light was no longer flickering, it was a steady, blinding sun. "The final quest, regicide," Victor's internal system whispered. The clash was instantaneous. It wasn't a fight, it was a natural disaster. The Tsar's red energy lashed out like whips of obsidian, cracking the marble and melting the steel railings. Victor moved in a flow state beyond anything he'd ever reached, his golden resonance parrying strikes that would have vaporized a skyscraper. "You're fighting for a future that doesn't want you, Wolf," the Tsar roared, his hand closing around Victor's throat. The red energy began to drain Victor's golden core, the names on his back screaming in agony. Victor didn't pull away. He leaned in, blood trickling from his mouth, and smiled. "You're right, Dmitri. The future doesn't want us. It wants them." Victor didn't strike with his hands. He channeled every ounce of his golden core into the ledger of the dead on his back. The names, Katerina, the lost wolves, the orphans, erupted from his skin as literal spirits of light. It was a legion summoning, a move that transcended the Mafia world and touched the divine. The spirits of the men the Tsar had betrayed didn't kill him. They grounded him. They became a weight of 1,000 sins, dragging the Tsar's red mana into the earth. For Katerina, Victor whispered, delivering a final, golden-infused strike to the Tsar's chest. The explosion was silent. A wave of white light washed over the Kremlin, purging the red rot from the sky. When the light faded, the Tsar was gone, turned into a pile of gray ash that the wind immediately carried away into the Moscow night. Victor slumped to his knees. The golden light vanished. His tattoos were dark, his mana spent. He looked at his hands. They were shaking, but they were clean. Elena rushed to him, the twins safe and wide-eyed in their carriers. The violet glow in their eyes had settled into a soft, protective shimmer. They weren't weapons anymore. They were just children. Is it over? Elena asked, the dawn finally breaking over the horizon. Victor looked at the sunrise. For the first time in his life, he didn't see a target. He didn't see a mission. He saw a day. The wolf is dead, Victor said, standing up and taking the dual carrier from her. He looked at the vast, waking city below. The Tsar is ash. There is no more debt. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his silver Tokarev, the weapon that had defined his life. He didn't fire it. He dropped it over the edge of the roof, watching it vanish into the shadows of the past. Let's go home, Elena. We have a breakfast tab to pay. And that, legends, is how the Winter Wolf became a father. He burned a throne to build a home, and the Shadow Garden finally found its peace. If you loved this journey from the penthouse to the Kremlin, smash that like button and comment legendary down below. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell. We have a new series starting next week that you won't want to miss. Thanks for watching, and stay legendary.